It brings us great pleasure to report that Federal Trade Commission Chair Lena Con is once again kicking ass and taking names. Yesterday, the FTC announced that they are going to be challenging pharmaceutical patents that the agency believes are improperly listed. Before we explain what exactly the FTC is accusing pharmaceutical companies of and what they're planning to do in response, we need to get familiar with what's known as the Orange Book and how Big Pharma has abused it to price gouge Americans on life-saving drugs. So More Perfect Union explains. Let's watch.
In 1985, President Ronald Reagan signed into law a bill that reshaped the pharmaceutical industry in America. This law is commonly known as the HatchWaxman Act. The point of the act is to encourage generics to enter the market. So generic drug companies are granted access to the branded company's research, and in return for that access, brand name drugs get the exclusive right to produce and market a new drug for a specific period of time. The only issue? Hatch-Waxman requires that generics trying to enter the market don't infringe on any of the branded company's existing patents. The FDA keeps track of this through something called the Orange Book, which lists approved drugs that have existing patents. Because drug companies can easily abuse the patent system by expanding existing patents without changing much at all, the Orange Book has been a tool used by Big Pharma to stifle competition and drive prices up. The Orange Book says if there's any possibility that a generic could be infringing on a branded drug, the original brand can sue.
A court litigation process starts, and that suspends any kind of entry until 30 months.
So look, the idea behind this, if it were used properly, is to protect the profitability of these drugs for a certain period of time. These patents allow for a limited monopoly on medications and treatments, so the pharmaceutical companies that develop them can recoup resources that they spent on research and development, even though the US government funds research and development oftentimes. Nonetheless, also protects them so they can make money on their creation or their innovation. Unfortunately though, there's some serious abuse taking place, and as you're about to hear from Senator Elizabeth Warren, some companies might even be committing fraud in order to stretch these patents even longer than legally permitted.
Here's what happens with the Orange Book. A drug company gets a patent, and that patent, as you know, lasts for 20 years from discovery or 10 years from the time it goes on the market. That's all fine. But somebody comes along and says, well, now I think the patent is expired, so I want to do a generic. All sounds great, right? Except the FDA does not watch the drug companies on what they list or what timing they list. So they will list the wrong dates. They will list things under patent that are not under patent. They will expand the patents they have. Why? All to fight off the folks who are doing the generics.
So in other words, pharmaceutical companies have been freely abusing the Orange Book for years in order to maximize their profits at the expense of patients who would benefit from more affordable generic versions of these drugs. According to a recent FTC report, the Supreme Court identified evidence of this sort of price gouging as far back as the late 1990s. And make no mistake, Big Pharma's extortion can lead to potentially deadly outcomes.
So I do have chronic asthma. I have a very high allergy to bee stings and kale. So I have anaphylactic shock. So I am prescribed EpiPens. For a 2-pack of EpiPens right now, with my insurance, I'm looking at $553 with the EpiPens. Probably 2018 was the last time that I refilled it, just because the cost has gotten so out of control. The biggest, I think, fear, is my next medical emergency gonna financially bankrupt not just me, but like my kids? Is it gonna dictate their future? Are they gonna get stuck with my medical bills?
Real glad that members of Congress are wasting their time passing resolutions to censure their fellow colleagues for showing any concern for Palestinian people, because we have no other issues in the country, right? No problems with corporate greed, pharmaceutical companies price gouging people, Americans not being able to get adequate health care, no problems at all. I'm glad that we're doing censure votes. Thankfully though, thankfully for all of us, Lena Con wants to put an end to this malpractice. In September, the FTC announced that they would be scrutinizing Orange Book patents in the near future. And just yesterday, they made that announcement official. For more on exactly what the FTC is doing, here's Lena Con herself explaining.
We're challenging more than 100 improper patent listings in what's known as the FDA's Orange Book. So this is a book where firms are able to list patents, and they're only supposed to list patents covering active drug ingredients, so the substance of the drug that helps your body heal. And instead, we have found that firms are listing device patents that have absolutely nothing to do with the active ingredient. So patents that are instead covering the dispenser cap on a multi-dose eyedropper, or the cap strap on an inhaler, which just keeps the inhalers in place. And so we've identified patents covering these components of devices that we think are improperly listing, and that may in fact be resulting in Americans having to pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars more than they should be.
Go off, Queen. According to the FTC's press release on the issue, these companies will have 30 days to withdraw or amend these patent listings. Otherwise, they will have certified under penalty of perjury that the listings comply with applicable statutory and regulatory requirements. Now, as for what would happen after that, well, the FTC's briefings have been light on details regarding what consequences these companies might face. But regardless, this is great news for average Americans. That makes it terrible news for people like CNBC's Jim Cramer, who groveled for his corporate overlords a little more than usual today. Love watching it. Let's take a look.
I deal with a lot of M&A lawyers, and they say the same thing, which is, sorry, unlike the bankers, we don't get paid on the deal, and she'll go for you, Lena Con. And look, the president is not a pro-business president. He's a pro-worker president. And M&A is bad for workers and good for capital. Anytime you see something bad for workers, good for capital, the president will be against it.
Amazing. I mean, the admission there was amazing. As long as corporate media exists, there will be plenty of Jim Cramers who are paid to spread pro-business propaganda that benefits shareholders over the best interests of American consumers and workers. But the good news is that according to a recent Politico article, we might actually have plenty of Lena Cons in the works. The article is titled, "The Next Generation of Law Students is Obsessed with Lena Con." Oh my God, can you imagine like what corporate media is thinking about this? Like their heads are exploding. It explains that apparently Con and other antitrust warriors like her have become minor celebrities at several law schools. The movement that Con helped build has reached law schools across the country, attracting scores of trust buster mini-me's. Once sparsely attended antitrust classrooms are bursting at Loyola University, Chicago Law School. A quarter of students' submissions to the Georgetown Law Journal focused on antitrust last year. That really does give me some hope, man. And when the Justice Department's chief antitrust enforcer, Jonathan Cantor, filled a 200-person room at Columbia Law School, he stayed so long afterward to shake hands, he missed his flight. A student at Yale Law School put it like this, quote, "Antitrust at Yale is full of brainiacs and bros. Brainiacs who are critically undermining the broken assumptions of traditional antitrust theory, and bros who want to see antitrust enforcers flex their muscles and show their guns." I love it. Now, if we're lucky, Lena Con will be able to pass the torch to one of these motivated students someday. And it seems like that's what she intends to do. Con said that her goal is to make the FTC the premier landing spot for idealistic, trust-busting students, as it was in the 1960s and 1970s. To that end, the agency recently launched an honors program for attorneys just out of law school to create a pipeline for top-notch talent. These days, there's not a whole lot of news that really makes us feel optimistic about the future of this country. But Lena Con and the FTC are a rare bright spot in a sea of darkness. Not all of the agency's recent efforts have been successful. But as a certain someone we know might say, it's much better to get caught trying than to not try at all.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.